That's a magic number. Yes, it is. It's the magic number.
What does it all mean?
Hello and welcome to the final Flintoff Savage and the Ping Pong Guy, which is me, Matthew Syed. For this show, we have decided to tackle yet more meaty topics. Do team building trips really work? Who would you invite over for dinner? And why does sport matter? As always, a huge thank you to everyone who's got in touch over the entire series using the hashtag FredSavSide. But before we get into the first topic, guys, the last show of what has been an epic run.
Can't believe it. Just one of the best things I've done in my life. And basically because...
In your life?
Yeah, in terms of
Really?
media. In terms of media, I would say, yeah, because people actually start liking me. And I can't believe it. Honestly, the adulation and people coming up to you all the time saying, love the podcast, working with great people. You know, all the backroom staff, Matthew. First time I met Matthew, great. You.
Thank you.
You times.
You.
Yeah, you.
There's a lot of love.
No, seriously, it has been absolutely... I get up on a Monday morning thinking, oh yeah, great, I've got the podcast today.
Mondays have been good, haven't they?
Brilliant.
Fabulous. I've really looked forward. I didn't know what to expect at all. Fred, we'd met a few times.
Yeah.
Got on well. Rob, didn't know much about you except what I've seen.
Right. Do you know when you said, you've alluded to it a little bit before, and you said you was a bit worried about doing it. I remember sat in a coffee shop at the gym with Robbie and Jono, the big boss, when they're saying, what would you want to do, talk about it.
Yep.
Your name was mentioned, and it was if you'd do it. But what was you expecting? Because we met a little bit.
Yeah.
What was you expecting when you met Robbie Savage? Or what was your initial thoughts?
So when Jono phoned, I was in a cab. He mentioned the concept, talking about...
Wasn't Robbie's mate, was it? We'll pick you up anyway.
Yeah, he said, hey, Matthew, what do you think? I got a friend down from Wrexham. So when he mentioned your name, I thought, yeah, brilliant. And then Robbie, I think, and Robbie Savage, what I associate with him is a belligerent, slightly gobby person.
What does belligerent mean to say?
Aggressive.
Right.
You're focusing on the wrong word there. He just said gobby, and you focused on belligerent.
But let me give some love back to Robbie, because I think we've become pretty good friends over the course of the podcast. I like you hugely. I think you're an amazing person, not just on the show. I mean, okay, this isn't going to be a loving. This isn't going to be, for people listening, this is not going to be an entire loving, but you have been brilliant away from the show, phoning up, coming up with topics, and working with an amazing backroom staff, Stan and Mike, the producer, who is a genius. And it's worked so well. I've enjoyed it. You know, you mentioned people come up to you and say stuff. I was at a bar on Saturday night, and the amount of people who came over and mentioned the podcast. So I think it has been fantastic. And Fred, you've been immense too, mate. Topic number one. This has been sent in by George Dunn. After England trained with the Marines, George wants to know, do team building trips actually work? What are our experiences? What have been the ups and the downs? Fred, what's your take on this?
Pointless. Absolutely pointless.
You don't think that you get to know each other better, that you develop certain characteristics?
What,
that
by
can help?
being shoved under some water by an army man? Why do you?
Have you been on it? Have you been on any?
Yeah, I've been on them. Complete waste of time. It's time I'll never get back. Right, these team building exercises, you're part of a team. You're playing sport. You're doing the one thing that you wanted to do.
Yep.
I went on one. First one I went on was to the Lake District. It was December. It was cold. I got pulled into the office early doors for not taking it seriously. I was watching people.
Who was the coach?
The coach was Phil Neal, because I was with the under-19s, who then went through the England stuff with me.
Yep.
And I can't even remember who the coach was. That's how good it was.
But you got dragged in. You weren't.
Phil Neal pulled me in the office because I wasn't buying into it. We was pushing people through pieces of string between trees. I can't remember as a kid growing up watching the television thinking, you know what I'd want to do when I get older? I want to play cricket, but above all, I want to push people through pieces of string and trees. We had this other one where me and Rob Key, what you had was you was on a harness and you had to trust your mates to pull you up. And then meanwhile, you're putting beer crates under your feet to see how high you can get.
Yep.
So it's a trust exercise. I'll be honest, I didn't trust half the team. And being hoisted up on beer crates didn't make me trust them anymore. So what me and Keezy...
Big crane for you, that
Oh,
one.
yeah. Me and Keezy started running a book.
Yeah,
but
on
then,
who would get the most
Yeah,
points?
but then we started match fixing and kicking crates and pulling ropes. So we got dragged in the office for not taking it seriously.
So what was the call? Which was that when you're under 19 again?
Under 19s. And then I went on one. I was having a shocker with Lancs. I was in the second team and I needed to get my career back on track. So I asked to go on the academy with the young kids when I was 23. But before that, they had a team building exercise at Sandhurst.
Yeah,
do you know
the military base, yeah.
Where they train the captains. So me and Keezy were there. And half of it was, we're going out, first thing in the morning, we're doing manoeuvres.
Yeah.
We're staying out overnight with a survival ration pack, and then we're coming back the following day. So me and Keezy, we've got these rations. I said, Rob, this is not enough. We can't survive 48 hours on this. I'll nip to Sainsbury's. So I nipped to Sainsbury's, right? I bought big bags of crisps and M&Ms and I'm stuffing them in my bag. And we get out on manoeuvres and I've been given a group of people. I'm a team leader. Right? So I've got Keezy, I think Army might have been there, Stephen Kirby, a couple of others. And we've got these heavy bags that the military carry. And they're heavy then. They're heavy. I'm not signed up for this. I carry my own cricket bag, but I don't need this. So we set off. And the grounds of Sandhurst are massive.
Yep.
We got all kits on, we're in camouflage, and we're walking through. And I've had a look at the map. And I've realised that we walk about 20 miles in a circle. And we've got to stop off at different checkpoints to do team building exercises. So I've said to the lads I'm looking after, I said, lads, I've looked at the map. We're going in a big circle. I don't know about you, but these bags are really heavy. Let's just stash them, right? Stash them in this bracken here, and we'll get them later in the day. All right? So I said, take the crisp out and the M&Ms though. So we're walking through Sandhurst on a jolly, right? What I didn't know was all the trainee captains, they've been out all week and the wet food, they're starving. Yeah. And then we're walking through, whistling, eating M&Ms off and round and saying we can't because we'll fail. So we carry on. We get to the first checkpoint and there's these oil drums and pieces of wood where you got to balance them and walk on them. So I'm leading the group. Lads, come on, checkpoints here, let's go over. And I walked to the checkpoint, and this military man, I don't know if he was a sergeant or a captain, he looks at me, he looks me up and down, he says, "Where is your bag?" Ooh. I said, I tell you what, mate, what I've done is I've stashed them. I've took an executive decision. They're heavy. We're walking around all day. We don't particularly need them, so we've stashed them in the bracket. Yeah. He says, "The military, that is the most important part of your equipment for a soldier." I said, "Mate, I'm not a soldier. I'm not a soldier. I'm just here for a couple of days." Then he started shouting at me again. And I said, "You know what? I didn't expect this." Right? So at this point, he's right in my face. No way. He's shouting and screaming and he's spitting all over me. And I'm just saying, "Yeah, I'm using my initiative. Surely you're gonna help me out for this." And he said, "No." Next minute, he makes some call on a radio. 2 dummies turn up on stretchers, 100-kilogram dummies. I had to carry these round now for 2 days. Oh. It's like, hang on a minute. So we did all this. Team building.
What would have happened if you had said to him, "We're just going to leave the dummies here"? Then they'd have got the England management and they'd have been disciplined.
But you know, the one thing about it was, right, we did all this and I was rubbish at it because I've got no interest in any team building exercise. Yep. I get to know people, but not by carrying dummies or pieces of string in trees. Yeah. The people who were best at doing that, as soon as it hit the fan on the cricket pitch, went hiding, disappeared. But they're good at string challenges. Rob Key had him next to me all the time. Steve Armisen, every day of the week. Yeah. I never forget Stephen Kirby, though, I love him to bits. He didn't carry this dummy all day. And then we got to end, and then they're all waiting, all army and all managers. He grabbed one end of it, started running. "Come on, lads, let's push it through. Come on, push it through." It's off.
I think what it is, I think these teams now have such big budgets. They think, "Oh, we need to spend something. And if we win, I can point back to this visionary idea that we sent people to Sandhurst." In actual fact, what is it going to do to the competitive edge when you're on a cricket field? Absolutely nothing. Have you had any experience?
Oh, the team building. Well, see, with cricket, obviously, they tour a lot. So they'll be away for months at a time together as a group. Yeah. But in football, obviously, you will not be together for a large period of time unless it's a trip away. And I just think, just from my own personal experience in teams I've played for, the team building trips away were basically a chance for professional athletes to get hammered. Yeah. Simple as that. You know that, and to get hammered. And I wasn't a big drinker, never have been. So for me, whether it was Dubai, whether it was Mallorca, Marbella, La Manga was the one when we went with Leicester City. and it was Stan Collymore with a fire extinguisher. Do you remember?
Oh, go on.
It was in all the papers when went to La Manga, team building trip. Martin O'Neill stayed at home because he didn't like going away with the team.
Mm-hmm.
John Robertson took us with Steve Walford. Anyway, the lads were hammered on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the hotel, beautiful hotel. We get in, an English football side, all the lads were hammered. It was embarrassing, really. When you look back now, embarrassing. That continued on. Went out that night. Even more drink was involved. Yeah. Get back to the piano bar and Stan, and I like Stan. He got a fire extinguisher, let it off, sprayed the whole room. People, people. It was all made national headlines in the newspapers. It was the foam. Everybody, all in dicky balls, were dancing, all covered in foam. We got sent home, and basically it was drink fueled. Yeah. So for me, team building.
Why are the football managers thinking that the best way for the players to bond is to go to a party town? Is that just the tradition in football? You've never done anything of the kind that Fred has done.
I think, Nigel Clough took us to Plymouth or Cornwall or somewhere of that part of the world. Are they in the same area? No, they need each other.
Yeah.
It was cliff jumping. So basically,
cliff jumping.
And to be fair, that was good because that was a fear.
Yep.
It was a fear. Not a great swimmer.
Cliff jumping.
Yeah. So we go onto the top of a cliff.
I get it. I get the concept, Rob. I get it's pretty self-explanatory. Cliff jumping.
Yeah, but they went up in stages. Yeah. So X amount of meters. I can't remember what it was. 10 meters, 20 meters. And as captain, I had to go first in every one. And I got to say, I was petrified.
Yeah.
But I'd done it, and then everybody followed, and that I got a sense of it helped me. It helped me personally because I felt a sense of achievement. But the worst thing
how did it help your football career?
Well, but it basically gives us you would say
they're playing at altitude.
But to never
got a game on top of an hill.
Yeah,
it's cracking it.
But it was good because at the time it's helped me have a sense of achievement doing something. So I suppose as a footballer in a moment where things aren't going well. Did it help? Not really, but it was just good to get away with a group of lads where drink wasn't the main thing.
It seems to be bigger in cricket, doesn't it? I'm reading about this one 4 days before the England team were due to fly to Australia for a 3-month tour in 2013. They're desperate to go home, have a few days with the family, preserve their strength for the rigours of the tour. They go to Stoke on an SAS-style team-building mission. They had to sit down in a classroom and figure out how to use walkie-talkies. They're given instructions in the art of covert surveillance.
Why?
And then they've got to stop this guy from committing a crime. So at 5 a.m. one morning, Stuart Broad and Ben Stokes are in a back alley staking out a terrace house, but they don't know how to use a phonetic alphabet over the walkie-talkie. So Broad says, Team Black Hawk down, Alpha Bravo, Potato, Onion Samosa, 5-9 in Golf Course Mike, Team Hotel over. The next day, they've got to eavesdrop on a chap in a pub on the edge of Stoke. This is Stokes, Boyd, Rankin, Pryor, Cook and Peterson sitting in an old-fashioned boozer. Jonathan Trott is outside, keeping an eye on the possible getaway. What happens? He gets surrounded by a crowd of people asking for autographs and he misses the whole thing. So they have this days
what is
of
that
completely
about?
meaningless activity.
Well, get it nets, go on interview.
Exactly.
Go on bowl,
But why the infatuation in cricket?
I don't know, I don't like it, don't ask me.
So wait, imagine you're a coach, Fred. We talked last week about how you are mentoring your boys who are very, very good at cricket. And I think from what you were saying, you'd be a brilliant coach if you were trying to create a sense of team cohesion. You're running the England team, or you're running the Lancashire team. Would it just be practice in the nets, or would you do anything a bit out of the ordinary to get them to bond in a more successful way?
I think it's a dangerous thing when you try and get people to bond, because you're not all going to get on. And doing a covert mission with Kevin Peterson, what's that about? Or Jonathan Trott on a walkie-talkie. I mean, heck.
Do you know what I wouldn't do, Fred?
What?
Curfews.
Curfew's pointless.
So I've been on team bonding trips where the manager will set a curfew, and curfews are there to be broken, especially when drinks involved. I've seen people going through windows. I've seen people,
I got the wrong room at the hotel as well. I dived through an open window and there's a fella in bed.
No, shut up.
Promise you.
Not one of your teammates.
I don't know. No, he's about 70.
No.
I dived. It was in Taunton.
No way.
We'd come in, England under-19s. There was me, Alex Morris, who else? Gareth Batty, who's still playing, and Anthony McGrath. I don't know why he'd gone home early from the nightclub. So he said, we got no key. He said, I'll leave the window open. So what we did was we went to hotel reception, already in on the roundabout at Taunton, and all the managers are still in the bar. They're having a drink. So we thought, we can't go through the bar. So we went to the petrol station down the road to have a regroup, get a packet of Watsits. So while we're thinking, we think, right, what we do? And then we saw this window, which Mag said he'd keep open. So we thought we'll go through the window. But instead of going through the window, just carefully. Oh no, we ran at it. Alex Morris has dived through. I dived through on the top of Alex Morris, and then Bats is halfway through. And this fella, bless him, jumps out of bed, and he was like, oh, "That's not Mag, did it? It looked like you." Yeah. So we jumped out, and then we decided we're going to go up the fire exit. So we're banging on the windows to get the fire exit open. We're playing against South Africa. Mark Boucher, who played for South Africa, he was under 19. He's let us in, gone to bed. As we're walking through, alarms have gone off, so security have now come to get us.
No way.
So we got rumbled anyway.
Yes, I think curfews are the worst thing because, they're there to be broken. And you go against the rules. I've had managers waiting in reception, counting people in, knowing that they're late. And the worst thing is that, listen, everybody I've been involved in, the majority are professional people. But when you go on these trips, whether it's pre-season or whatever, and the manager gives you a night out and you break the curfew, the last thing you want is the next day in training, lads to be drunk. And I've had a few who have been drunk in training and been sent in.
Really?
And then that spoils it for everybody. You mean?
Sorry. I spoiled it for a few.
But it does. So the team bonding trips,
so let me ask
it's just for a group of lads to go away and to have a drink. That's what I think it is.
I mean, wouldn't you say that management does have a role to play in trying to create an environment where people want to work for each other and play for each other? I mean, I'm imagining you, Robbie, running the Welsh football team, or you, Fred, running the England cricket team. I'm not thinking that closely about Robbie running the Welsh football team. What would you do? You wouldn't have a curfew, but you don't want, as management, the players to be hungover when they come in. How would you ensure that they were doing the right thing?
Do you know, if you're a footballer or you're a cricketer, right? I presume that all the way through your childhood, your life has been building up to do this. This is the one thing that you are so excited about doing. This is the one thing that you've worked for all your career. So when you get there, I think you mentioned a second ago, it's down to the coach to create an environment where everybody wants to be involved in with a common goal, which is winning and being successful. By going to Sandhurst or going to Lake District and swimming in Windermere, you're passing the buck. You're not doing your job. It should be an environment which you've created anyway. There should be nothing more satisfying that brings you together more than the sport in which you're doing.
So like
anything else,
Bumble was able to do that. You felt that...
He didn't get it right all the time. But because everybody wanted to play for him and everyone respected him, they got involved. We went on one with Lancs to Oakham Brook. You know, we did the Krypton Factor Assault course. We went to do the Krypton Factor Assault course. It turned out to be fun. It was quite a fun day out. We didn't get much of it, but it was fun. But I turned up late. I'm not very good at them, so I've turned up late. I had a Porsche Boxster. I turned up with roof down. And it was cloudy.
To be fair, with the size of you, you'd have to have the roof down in a Porsche Boxster.
I felt a bit rough. I've been out the night before, so I've rocked up. All the lads are ready to go off on a run before they do the assault course. I've turned up, got Smooth FM, burning out, roof down. The army lads aren't having it. So I've got out, I've shut the door, just left the car in the middle of the car park. So just give us a second, lads, I'll be with you in a minute. To which point, he just come down on me like a ton of bricks. Instead of doing what we were going to do, we did probably 3 or 4 times more. So all the lads were like, not happy. But I don't get it. I don't get why they're going on covert missions. I just can't buy into it.
Don't you think they want to seem imaginative? And actually getting people to play better at cricket or football, that's quite a difficult thing to do. Whereas you go away and say, oh, I've taken them to the army, to the SAS, we've given them cliff jumping, where you go up a cliff and you jump off. Is that it? It sounds kind of innovative, doesn't it? But actually, it's a distraction from what they should be doing.
One of the things which I like, I really do, and I don't know what it's like in football because it's a different sport and players move clubs, but if someone needs to motivate themselves or needs motivation, I don't want them in my team.
Yeah.
Go away. That's the motto the SAS use as well. If you need motivating, you're not right for what we're doing. But I really like being surrounded by former players. I like to listen to their stories.
Yep.
I like feeling part.
Former cricketers rather than ex-rowers.
Oh, don't even get me. I've been there on a team building exercise at Leander Club.
Did you?
Yeah, pulling a stick. Easy. Easy.
Pulling a what?
Pulling a stick. Rowing. Did have had me there and then.
Was that in England?
England. Yeah. I got so drunk the night as well. I could still,
you were just going down the
do
Thames?
it hungover next morning. Hey, I didn't get knighted, right? But I can't even remember what I was saying. What was it?
I think I interrupted you.
I like listening. Do you know when you?
Yeah,
to me, there's nothing better for a Lancashire lads to sit around and have dinner with all the great ex-Lancashire players, and they all talk about what it means to them and how much the club means, and they talk about their experience.
I agree with you.
England were bad at doing it, but Andrew Strauss has brought it in. They had an England player. I didn't go, actually. I couldn't go, but they had an England former players dinner. I think that's so better than going to the Leander Club and doing a bit of rowing or climbing a tree. Or
that's what I'd do now. You know, if I was
not
manager,
agree. Do you know what, Freddie? That it's so powerful because it's not just you hear somebody who's achieved great things and you can draw personal lessons from them, but the fact that they played in the same team, in the England team historically, it makes you realise that the pride and the honour of being a part of that dynamic. I think that has so many different dimensions to it, and
responsibility as well.
Exactly.
And
I think
that transcends whatever you think about someone.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if I like you or I don't like you. What we're doing is bigger than that.
Yes.
And then when we walk out on a field, we've got one common goal.
Yep.
We don't have to be mates. I don't want to push you up a tree. I don't want to go and have a pint with you. I don't want to have dinner with you. But when you're out on that pitch, I would do anything for you.
Yeah.
That's what you need to create.
Robbie, when it comes to international football, I mean, am I right in thinking the team dynamic's really important? There's a real honour to representing your country unless you get the call during the close season. But Mark Hughes, was he good at building that team dynamic?
Brilliant. But as I said in previous podcasts, you know, it was like for the first 3 or 4 days, it was like a stag do. You'd rush to get there. The drinking mentality was there. If you didn't drink, you didn't feel part of it. You know, but I remember Mark Hughes said a great statement once. We were playing a game, an important game, and as before, when the lads would meet up and have a drink, there was this huge game. I remember he pulled the captain, Gary Speed, and then Gary Speed told the lads, and he said, Sparky said, and Sparky was Mark Hughes, said, Speedo asked him, could the lads go out? So he said, listen, you got a huge game coming up. I know you'll do the right thing. So basically, that was the words the manager used. So then in your head, you're thinking, I know what the right thing to do is. You know, some of the lads still went out, but I'm led to believe, but most didn't. So the right thing to do was not to go out.
Yeah.
So, you know, managers always playing games here, always testing your psychology.
Going back to what Fred was saying, the fact that he was a Welsh hero himself, he'd played for the country.
I never wanted to let him down. So whatever he said, I'd have done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because he was my hero, as we spoke about.
I think that the All Blacks do it really, really well. They take the shirt and they want to leave it in a better place because they see that their responsibility for playing for this team, there's national pride bound up with it. They know about the history.
They embrace the culture as well.
They do. And that's such a powerful thing that builds team cohesion. I think that is a much more powerful thing than these arbitrary, superficial team-building exercises that sound good but actually don't do much.
Well, I remember when the Aussies went to Gallipoli.
Yeah.
And they went there, and whether you want to call it a team-building exercise, but you got the sense that when they went there, they realised, or it reaffirmed, what playing for Australia and what they're representing, as opposed to, you know what, if we go there, me and you are going to get on better. I don't subscribe to that. We went to Ypres in Belgium. And we went round and we saw the ceremony, we saw the graves, and we saw all the English soldiers who were given. And there's a life experience and a national pride that was far greater than... I didn't get on with any of the lads any better.
Yeah, sure.
To be honest with you, I got on even worse because I slept in one morning and missed a bit and nobody got me up. So I was seething. But yeah, I think from that point of view, but come on, don't tell me. I swam in Windermere for one of them and I won because I was cold. It was nothing to do with trying to not let my teammates and it was freezing. It was December.
Yeah, well, I think...
give me a break.
I think we got a conclusion here. Team building exercise is complete waste of time.
So too... motivational quotes. Same bracket for me, that point.
Dead right. Guys, thanks to you so much. And thank you for listening. You can download the podcast for extended versions of all the topics we covered on this week's show at the 5 Live website and all the usual podcast places. You'll find all of the podcasts we recorded through the entire series. You can still use the hashtag FredSavSide to get in touch with us. If you could leave a review on iTunes and give us a rating, that would be great. But for now, from all of us, goodbye.
Thanks very much, all. Tremendous stuff. Well, look, on the way before 11 o'clock, schools and hospitals have been ordered to carry out checks on their buildings following the Grenfell Tower fire. We're also going to hear from the president of the National Association of Head Teachers. We'll speak to Labour MP Jim Fitzpatrick too. He's chair of the All-Parliamentary Fire Group, who's just finished debating in the Commons, and scientists in Canada have begun what they believe will become the world's largest study into the effects of sleep deprivation.
First for news and the best live sport. This is BBC 5 Live.
Hi, good evening. It's 10:30. You're listening to 5 Live. I'm Sam Walker, and this is the late news hour.
And the main news on 5 Live. Theresa May tells councils to speed up tower block safety tests.
And in sport, Heather Watson wins in Wimbledon warm-up.
This is BBC 5 Live.
At the BBC News now on 5 Live. Here's Don Busby.
The Prime Minister has called for councils in England to speed up tower block safety tests. So far, 75 high-rises in 26 local authorities have been checked after the Grenfell fire. They've all failed to meet standards. The First Minister of Wales, Carwyn Jones, says a magic money tree has been found for Northern Ireland. The DUP's deal to support the government in key Commons votes means it'll receive £1 billion in extra funding. EU nationals living in the UK will be able to stay for up to 2 years after Brexit, whilst their applications are assessed. Those who have been here for at least 5 years will be able to remain indefinitely. And a judge in Madrid has decided the body of Salvador Dali is to be exhumed over a paternity suit. A Spanish woman has claimed her mother had an affair with the artist in the 1950s. The Dali Foundation, which manages the artist's estate, says it will appeal. Those are the news headlines. Nelson Kumar has the sport.
Thank you. Good evening. Heather Watson held her best win of the year as she beat Dominika Sibylkova to reach the second round of the Eastbourne International. Naomi Brody and Carl Edmund were both knocked out. Meanwhile, Britain's Marcus Willis and Liam Brody will meet in the second round of Wimbledon qualifying after winning their first round matches today. Eddie Boothroyd says Nathaniel Chalabar and Nathan Redmond will both face late fitness tests in the morning ahead of Germany in the semi-finals of the Euro Under-21 Championships. Lyon have signed Bertrand Traoré from Chelsea for a fee of around £9 million. Defending champions Australia beat West Indies by 8 wickets at the Women's Cricket World Cup. Mark Cavendish is one of 3 Britons named to race for Team Dimension Data at the Tour de France. Frankie Dettori's arm injury is expected to keep him out of the saddle until mid-July. And New Zealand have won the America's Cup after completing a 7-1 victory over Oracle Team USA in the final series.